Today we're going to talk about how to learn a new piece of music. So you've got a book and there's a piece of music in it that you want to learn and you haven't started learning it yet. And many students, when they're just about to learn a piece of music, will grab the book, pop it on the piano and start to play. And they'll run into some problems along the way and they'll not really be sure why. So today I'm going to show you how to prepare yourself to play a new piece of music. First thing that you'll need to do is examine the notes. So let's just have a look. It's the Minuet in G by Bach, and when we look at it, first of all, we want to make sure that we actually know all of the notes in the piece. So have a quick look through the piece of music and see if there are any notes that you don't know. Presumably you do know them all because you've spent some time drilling your notes in the treble clef and bass clef, and so you have a pretty good idea of all the notes that you need to play. But if there's an exceptionally high note in the piece, like you can see on the second page here, then you should take some time to figure out what that note is. And maybe write in the book with a marker or a pencil. I prefer to just draw a circle, don't actually write the note name there. The reason is that if you write in, this note was B, if you wrote a B on the page, then what's going to happen is you're going to actually read the marker, the letter B, and you're not actually going to take the time to decipher the note. So if you're trying to learn to read music, then you should actually be looking at notes and not looking at pencil marks or marker notations that have been made in your book. So the first thing that you need to do is go through the entire piece of music and check that you know what all of the notes are. And if there are any that you don't know instantly, then you should review them and possibly circle them. The other thing that's important to check in a piece of music is the key signature. Many people will just assume that the piece is written in the key of C, but if you look back here, you will find this one is written in G major. It's got an F sharp at the beginning. I guess it should be no surprise it's in G major because it's got an F sharp, and because it's called Minuet in G major. Very nice of Bach to name it this. But if it's in G major, you really have to remember to play F sharps. So it's a good idea to note that, and maybe even quickly scan through the piece to look where all your F sharps are going to be. Fs always live on the top line of the treble clef, on the bottom space of the treble clef, on the second line from the top in the bass clef, and in the space below the bottom line in the bass clef. So if you are reading this music and looking for Fs, which should be played as F sharp, they're only in 4 places. Alright, so now you know the key signature and you've checked for any tricky notes, so you know that you know the notes to play. Okay, that's good, but that's not enough. The next thing you need to do is you need to check that you're able to play the rhythm of this piece with good steady flow. So let's have a look. We've got 3/4 time signature. Okay, well let's talk about that first. We need to feel the pulse of 3/4 time. So it's going to feel like 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So establish yourself a pulse of 3 beats in a measure. This feels like a waltz in modern times or a minuet in the Baroque period. Minuet was a dance, danced in 3 steps per beat. So here we have the 3/4 time of the minuet. And now we're going to look at the rhythms. We're going to actually clap this. So we're going to clap the right hand's rhythm line. It goes like this. And that is the first 2 lines of the right hand's rhythm for the minuet. Let's go back and look at the left hand rhythm. Alright, so we would think the left hand doesn't have very tricky rhythm, and it doesn't, but something happens on the last measure that's a little harder than the rest of the section. So that might catch you off guard. It's a good idea to practice that a little bit. Just the left hand, just that section of the rhythm. Clapping. Now we want it to play this piece with our 2 hands on all of the notes that we know and at the same time. So we can't just practice the rhythm separately. We also have to practice the rhythm together. That's where bongo drums come in handy. bongo drums make practicing rhythms really fun. So when we're playing this piece of music, it starts off with the right hand playing a quarter note, followed by 2 eighth note pairs. And the left hand's going to play a half note and then a top. So now we can tap on our bongos, both hands together. Right, 2, and both hand. So let's try that. Both hands, starting with beat 1. Both, 2, and both hand. That's measure 1. I'm going to keep going. Back to measure 1. 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and. So this, all I had to do was I had to tap with my whole hand on each rhythm. And this is actually easier to do than playing the piano. So if you think this is tricky, you should practice it. What the next thing we need to do is we actually have to train the fingers to play in those rhythms on those beats. So if you don't have bongo drums, you can actually just play on a tabletop with your hands. You can play on your knees. You could play on a table. You can think of lots of ways to use both hands to tap different rhythms at the same time. So now onto the fingers, okay? We have 10 of them. 10 fingers, and 88 keys that we could be playing them on. So just being able to do this isn't enough. We need to be able to coordinate our fingers to play in time on the correct notes in rhythm. So it's a really good idea now to plan which fingers you're going to play. So with my left hand, it starts with a triad, and with my right hand, it starts with 5th finger. So when I'm looking at this piece of music for notes, I skipped a step, but I'm going to tell you about it now. I also look for patterns. I see a jump of a 5th here, and then I see a pentascale. A jump of a 5th again. And then up to a new starting note, and bringing my thumb in, and then another pentascale, and then an octave. So these are patterns that I recognize from playing music, but what I'm going to do now is use my fingers to play through this just with fingers and no piano notes yet. So I'm going to start off with triad and 5 at the same time. So that looks like this. My right hand is playing 5, my left hand is playing triad, and then the next thing that happens is I start the pentascale. 1, 2, and then together my left hand plays the middle note of the triad, and then my right hand goes up again, then I'm on to finger 2 in the left hand, and then the right keeps going. So playing that together, the piece starts off with 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 1. Those were my right hand fingers. Now my left hand is going to go triad, 3, 2, 1. So when I'm playing through this, I'm thinking about the finger numbers. Talking while you're playing, that adds a whole nother level, so counting while you do this will make sure that you're actually able to keep it coordinated. So counting when you do this together would be like this. 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3. So again, on a tabletop, on your knees, on the piano with the lid closed, but practice with just the fingerings. By the time you've done this, you know what the notes are, you know the patterns in the pentascales or the triads or the octaves or the intervals. You know which fingers you plan to use. 9 times out of 10 now, when you sit down to actually play this on the piano, you've practically memorized it already. Nothing's going to surprise you. You're going to be playing through the piece of music, knowing what to expect, knowing which fingers to expect it with, and of course you're going to check for sharps. So make sure that if you're in a key signature that uses accidentals, in this case sharps, that you're prepared to play them. But really it's as basic as that. Let me review. First, check over all the notes. Make sure you can easily read them. Second, look for patterns. We talked about that one later, but look for those pentascale patterns or repeating interval patterns. Third, check out each hand's rhythm. Fourth, put the rhythms together with both hands tapping. And then fifth, every finger in time without the piano keys. If you can do all that, you're ready to actually start playing that piece of music. Thanks for watching.